All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, bringing you brand new interviews right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, check out the Patreon link in the description, and maybe join as a member. You can ask questions to the guests, you can watch interviews before anyone else, like this interview today with Ted Poley. I grew up in New York City. I saw the band Danger Danger a lot of times, countless times. The band that was so nice, they named it twice, you may say. Anyway, Ted is here. Ted is a likable guy, an outspoken guy, and a lot of great stories and a lot of great history and a little bit of a different perspective. A lot of the guests we've had on this show were signed on the Sunset Strip. Danger Danger's story is obviously a bit different. One of my favorite things about Ted is his charitable work for no-kill animal shelters. Much like myself, Ted has realized that in most cases, animals are much better than people. Looking forward to talking to Ted right after this.
Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. Nobody out there can waste time without
All right, please welcome Ted Poley.
Jason, hey man, thank you. I thought it was wasted time, so I'm a little bit toasted, but it's wasting time. It's never wasting time with you, buddy. But now it's welcome to Wasted Time with Ted Poley and Jason Green.
That's right. I appreciate that. And maybe a few people are wasted watching.
Well, I'm a giver. It's who I am. It's what I do. So everybody, if you got them, smoke them, and and I'll be much funnier. Anyway, back to you.
Ted, I got talk about the East Coast. I was saying I grew up in New York City. You're from New Jersey, right, Ted?
I am. Yep, I'm from New Jersey. I currently reside in Pennsylvania, but I was surprised with your intro to hear that you were at some Danger shows. I thought, wow, you're way too cool for that. Didn't know,
Well,
man. I am honored and thank you. I those were the days, man. And I guess you're from New York originally, so.
yeah, born in the Bronx, grew up in Manhattan, saw Danger Danger. I would say probably at the Limelight, definitely at the Ritz, which was Studio 54 for those who might not know.
What
And
about Lemoore back then? Lemoore, there were two Lemoores that were closer to home for you, weren't there?
I didn't get out. Well, Lemoore's was Brooklyn, and I didn't get out there that much.
And
My
also in
parents
Queens
lived
as
in the
well.
Yard Club.
Oh, what a great scene that was, man. I love that. But wow, cool, man. Well, a New Yorker and a New Jersey are both nowhere near those states at the moment.
Yes, you're in Pennsylvania, and I'm in Las Vegas, but we can
Yeah.
still reminisce. I want to talk about. So, what was it like for you growing up in Jersey and your first taste of music?
Oh my gosh. Well, I got my first taste of music at like 3 years old. I suffered through classical piano lessons. My half of my family was a very musical family. My auntie Jean actually had famous songs in the 30s. She wrote with Cab Calloway and a lot of the people from the Cotton Club scene. She wrote a very famous song that they still use on food shows. Everybody eats when they come to my house, and that was my auntie Jeannie. And she was married to Jerry Arlen, who was the band leader for Harold Arlen, and together they all worked on the Wizard of Oz music together. So when I was little, I had my auntie Jeannie putting me on behind a piano, and that was my first taste of music. And then later on, I became a drummer because I thought that was cooler. I liked to hit stuff. And later, I never wanted to become a singer. I like to sing from behind the drums, but Bruno hooked me and got me out front. But first taste of music was really, really young. Some of my early influences were the Partridge Family and the Monkees, and actually the first record that I ever owned, I cut off of a cereal box. It was "Sugar Sugar" by the Archies,
That's
and back
great.
then in the yeah, I cut that off of a cereal box, and that was my first record. So I'm pretty old.
I don't think people even get, younger people, that you could get a magazine that had a floppy record in it, or you could have it on the back of a cereal box. You have a Partridge Family tattoo, don't you?
I do. Right there, they were my one of my biggest influences. And the best part is that Danny Bonaducci, who was the bass player, the little kid on that show, became a friend. And we went out for dinner once, and he used to be a DJ in Philly. And when he was here, we did something for charity together, and we went out for dinner, and we had a great time. And he signed my Partridge Family lunchbox. He put "I think I love you," and he was great. So I have some stuff signed by him, and I get Christmas cards, and it's a real treat because when I was a little kid, it was my favorite show, and there I was at a Brazilian churrascaria, just stuffing our faces with meat and hanging out and telling me all the good Partridge Family stories. It was great, man. But he's a cool dude. He's
Funny.
nuts, but I'm a little nuts too.
Yeah, yeah. I could see that a lot of odd conversation, but it's funny how life comes full circle like that. So, what's the first band you played in?
Oh gosh, man, I started my own band. I guess it was called Legend, and I was based in New Jersey, and we went as far as we stretched as far as like Suffern, New York, right over the border. I was in northern New Jersey, and gosh, I haven't. My first real band though was a band called Lush, and that was with Kenny Dubman, who is just a guitar legend still to this day. He plays in Jersey, he plays all over. I think he's got a new album out now. So Kenny Dubman, a plug for you. I love this guy. We've been friends for, I want to say, we met and we started this band when I was 14. So gosh, almost 50 years of it. I'm 61 now. But that was my first
Really?
real professional band. And we would play things like the entire side of 2112 by Rush and just crazy stuff like that. But the only places to play were high schools. So we were actively seeking prom gigs. And in order to do a prom, which was everybody's, they want to slow dance and they want to, that's their chance to hug the girl. They just want to do that. Well, every third song had to be a slow song. So when we would audition for these for the student bodies to get these gigs, we would play the slowest songs and they think, oh, this is going to be great. Then we would show up with a light show and flash pots and we would open up with 2112 and completely ruin their prom and people would just be standing there. We were in concert, we were having a great time, and all they wanted to do was make out, but they would just stand there with these blank stares while we played 20 minutes of 2112 by Rush. But we had fun.
And you
But
were
that
you,
was the
you were
first
playing
real one.
drums, right?
Yeah, I was a drummer back then. Always a little bit of singing behind, but I loved to hit stuff. Yeah, I was a drummer, and it was fun stuff because then that was Kenny, who then he got me into the band Prophet, and that was like going to boot camp. Those guys are serious, serious musicians. I was more about smiling and twirling my sticks and having fun. But those guys, I mean, when you have to play Rush and Genesis, and we'd open with Yes, like Yours Is No Disgrace every night. And if I missed one bass drum hit, I would get the look from these guys who were really, really serious. And that really kind of schooled me on drums. And, that was the first record deal I had, things like that. But those guys were way above me, musician, wise and talent wise. So it was a high bar to get up to it. I never quite got there, but I got close enough to fool everybody. And then right when I got there, I jumped ship and became a singer, but I still love to drum sometimes.
You did sing a little bit in Prophet though, also while playing drums, and you sang on the album.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I loved, singing always from behind the drums. I did a lot of lead singing back there too. I'd have like the microphone, the fish, the fish hook. I looked like I was being caught
Mhm.
like a bass or something, always singing into this weird mic. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I ended up doing 2 songs lead on the first Prophet album, and I loved those guys. They were great. And at the time, we were actually doing a Prophet gig at Lemoore, and the singer was late or doing singer stuff, which, as a singer, we're always a little bit fruity, always don't feel well, or we're always, something. And he didn't show up. So from behind the drums, I had to do the vocals for the sound check. And as it turned out, this guy comes running up from downstairs. Who's singing? Who's singing? Turns out that Bruno Ravel at the time was he was a bass player for White Lion. And they were rehearsing in the basement of Lemoore. That was their studio. I think they were managed by those guys, by the owners, and he was looking for a singer at the time. And as fate would have it, he heard me doing the sound check behind the drums, ran upstairs and sort of drafted me into doing the demos. And I told him I didn't really want to be a singer. I sort of was shy. I liked my wall of drums, but we did the demos and they were kind of magical. We got signed immediately. And I didn't really want to be a singer. I didn't know how, but he said to me, just hold one hand on the mic here, hold the other hand low, put your knee up on the monitor and take it from there. And that was the first show. That's what I did. And, that's how I became a singer, but that wasn't the original plan. I loved to hit stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about Prophet just a little bit. There's a song called "Slow Down," And
Okay. All right. Okay. What are you gonna? Did you catch it? Go ahead. Keep going. Go ahead. Who?
well, you know where I'm going. The song "Slow Down." Some people say that maybe it influenced "Wanted Dead or Alive."
Okay. Thank you. I love you. I am now gonna kiss my own disgusting iPhone. Mwah, because okay, here's a little bit of and John, I love John Bon Jovi. There was a little bit of a mail mix up. For some reason, they're sending all of our royalties to him. But as long as he's enjoying it, it's fine. Okay. But to add to your little story, to make it, I don't know, because the jury's out on that. If you A B them, I mean, it's the exact same thing. It's okay. But he actually showed up at a Prophet show one day, and I have photos with him, and I'll send you the photo. And it was classic John Bon Jovi with the original hair back then, before that album was ever written. And would you believe we played that song that night? And I don't know, maybe it was just a coincidence that he came up with the exact, and I mean, it's not even close. It's kind of the exact riff. But he did hear it. I was there that night, took a photo with him. And so maybe, I don't know, but you're the first person to ever catch that. And I always heard it. Every time I heard it, I said, "Oh my God, what happened here?" But I
Well,
don't
you
know.
guys can go
Let's
on YouTube. Yeah, people can go on YouTube right now. Look up "Prophet," "Slow Down," and you tell me
Oh,
if you don't hear "Wanted Dead or Alive." I thought there might have been another Bon Jovi parallel in the Prophet world. Before you joined the band, did they have a song called "Shot Through the Heart" or something along those lines?
before, well, they weren't Bon Jovi when I was in Prophet. Well, let me think. Well, when I was originally in Prophet, I think wasn't that I mean, even when he was doing Runaway, they weren't even the right band, right? It was just him and
Right. That's
I
just
forget. I
John.
think 'cause
I
my drummer from Tokyo Motor Fist, Chuck Berge, who's Billy Joel's drummer, um, played on the Runaway because I don't think they had the full band yet. And wasn't that Aldo Nova also or something on that? I forget
I
who
believe so.
played
I
on
think
that.
John and maybe Hugh McDonald was around at that point. Crazy enough, but
I
I
think he
think
always
John.
was, right. Right. But I'm not sure about that. But yeah, thank you for slow down because that has always bugged me. At least somebody made some money off that riff. It's okay. But yeah, it's close.
Yeah, I mean, later you might be, someone may have missed the boat on some kind of legal action.
Listen, I don't have not my table either way. It's okay. I didn't write the first one or the second one. I just, I don't know. And actually, that was a cool song because we had three singers in that band. The lead singer, obviously Dean Fasano, who's passed on now. Who actually, how good is your music trivia? Dean's first band. Do you know his first band before Prophet? It was a band
No.
called Message, which was with Richie Sambora. So there's another, 2 degrees from John Bon Jovi. So he was really cool with Richie, and that's how I met Richie and stuff. But Dean was one of the singers. But "Slow Down" was sung by Scott Metaxas, who was the bass player, and he was great. He was like Greg Lake voice. We had all these different voices, and so he sang that, and I love it. It's a very cool song. Um, and but yeah, I mean, maybe the riff was very likable. That who knows.
Yes, I do. So the Bon Jovi similarity I'm talking about happened later. The person who came in to sing after you was a guy named Russell Arcara,
Well,
and
Russell
he.
actually, yeah, he was in maybe even before me and after me. He was in and out a couple of times, and Russell's great. He's still around. I love Russ.
Well, so he fronted a band with Jack Ponte, and the band was called Surgeon, and they had an album called
Oh,
"When Midnight Comes," and they had a song called "Shot Through the Heart," which was written by Jack Ponte and Bon Jovi. So and then later, the rest is history. So it is funny, this New Jersey sort of click, and then if you go on from New Jersey to Philadelphia later, Skid Row, Bon Jovi, Cinderella will all have their parallels. So you're talking about meeting Bruno at L'Amour's, and him and Steve West were already together looking for a singer. So tell me what
yeah.
happens next.
Oh, it's pretty much. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but let me fire up my synapses here and see if I can remember what
Mhm.
happened next. Well, basically, what we did. Oh, okay. Here's more names. I'm gonna. Here, oh, did I hear another name drop right there?
Mhm.
The guitar player at the time was Al Petrelli of
Right.
Trans Siberian Orchestra and Alice
Alice
Cooper.
Cooper,
I
Megadeth.
love. I love Al. Al was great. I loved him. And what we did was after Bruno sort of discovered me, he asked me to do the first demos, which we recorded in Al Petrelli's basement and on Long Island. So we went there. We recorded the very first songs. Gosh, I don't even remember. I think we did Rock America and Naughty Naughty and maybe Don't Walk Away. There was a couple of cool songs that made the album. A couple didn't, but we did those demos, and then we found some, well, sort of a manager. He was new, and that was the problem. If we would have had a great manager, we would have done a little better. But we found a manager, and he had a connection to Lenny Pizzi, who was from Portrait Records. I don't know if you remember. He owned Portrait, and he was responsible. He discovered Cyndi Lauper and Boston and and me. So I guess 2 out of 3 is not bad. But what happened was we had the direct connection. So we had done these demos, and we had then taken a band photo. But what we hadn't gotten the band photos back. We just had the Polaroid test things. So he took those in to Lenny and with the demo, and Lenny loved it. And we were signed on the spot. So we were signed to less than 24 hours after we took those photos, which was great. And then they were worried because they thought we were too good looking and thought that we couldn't play. And I've been playing classical piano and I just learned guitar. I could play everything. Bruno was schooled at Juilliard. His father was the first violinist of the New York Philharmonic. We could play, so, but they thought we looked too good and blonde. So they made us actually audition for them to make sure we were the guys on the actual tape. And we did that. And they said, well, you're one hit song away. We would like to hear one more song because we think you're great and you look good and you can have a deal. But the clincher is going to be, we're going to come back in a week or whatever it was. And we want to hear a hit song. So we're, that's not easy to do. So what we did was we came back and we came up with Bang Bang. And we went back to SIR, which was in New York City at the time. That's where all the bands rehearsed, and there's different rooms for showcasing. And Lenny came down with other executives, and they sit in a folding chair right in front of you, and you're right there. And he has his water bottle. And he says, okay, impress me. And we opened up with the chorus of Bang Bang. And he made a stop. He threw his water up in the air. He said, that's a hit. You're signed. That was it. So he loved that song. And I wish they would have released that as the first single. That might have been good. But anyway, that's how we got signed. And it was CBS. It was Portrait. They were on CBS. It was Epic Records. They were eventually purchased by Sony. And I don't know what what else, but that's how, how the early Danger stuff happened. That's how we got signed. And actually the funny thing was, we still there? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we're looking
The funny
at the
thing was,
debut record right here.
yeah, and Al Petrelli was he's one of my favorite guitar players. Really great, really cool looking at the time, everything. And for some reason, I don't know what happened. The company didn't love his guitar playing. And so we had to fire Al Petrelli. And then the funny thing was, we ended up one of the first tours was warming up for Alice Cooper, whose guitar player was Al Petrelli. And you can bet that he made our lives so miserable. Never fire a guy that you end up warming up for, because I loved him and I had nothing to do with that. But the powers that were said, get somebody else. Then we had barely dressing rooms. He made sure that when we got to the venues, we had the worst of the worst. And I love him for that because he was so cool. But yeah, man, he was in Alice Cooper. We ended up warming up for him and we had thrown him out of the band. But Al, if you're listening, I love to sing for Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It wasn't me. I love you. And that was the story back then. But yeah, can you believe we fired Al Petrelli, one of my favorite guitar players? It's amazing.
I never heard that story. I always wondered what happened to him. Tony Bruno would play guitar on the record, right?
Right. We had, to fire somebody is one thing, but to fire somebody without anybody else, I thought, well, that's fucking ridiculous, because how are we going to find somebody that was even this good? And look, I never understood it. I wasn't even there for the whole thing, so I don't even know what happened. But then we had nobody, so we had to do this record, and we were looking for guitar players, and everybody we auditioned I thought was horrible. But then it came time to record, so we got Tony Bruno, who was in a band Soraya at the time, and he went on to play with everybody. Enrique Iglesias and Rihanna, all these things. And he's one of my favorite guitar players. Everything he plays, I just think is the greatest. So I had a great privilege of living with him. We'd go to flea markets on Sundays together when we weren't recording. Really nice guy. But yes, he did the leads on the first record, and what a guitar player he is. Really good. And I think by the end of that, we had finally found Andy Timmons. And so we got him on 2 leads. I forget which ones exactly. Maybe Naughty Naughty, I'm not sure. I guess if you look at the album, it's probably credited. So we did go back and we got him on two of them at the time. Uh, but Tony Bruno's great, man. That's a good call.
Yeah, and but so why did Tony not stay? I know he went back to Soraya after that, but was it his choice?
Yeah, he was never in the band. I think he was really into Soraya. I'm sure he wrote probably a lot of those songs. Um, and I loved that band actually. What a voice she had, and it was a great band, and that was really his band. The point was never really to join Danger. I think it was just we needed a really good guy that fit, and just to do the tracks because we had the deal. It was time to do that album, and like I said, so he did it, but he was never really supposed to be in the band. We were still auditioning people while he was doing that, and that's how we found Andy. And he was
Andy, yeah.
fresh out of, yeah, Evansville, Indiana, I think, right off of the bus. And yeah, and I loved him because I was always into kind of weird progressive music, and I loved the Dixie Dregs, and he reminded me of Steve Morse. And he had like a weird haircut, and the guys were sort of on the fence because he had a weird haircut. He had bangs. I said, "Who cares about his bangs? His hair will grow." I said, "This guy is going to give us rock credibility. He's a god on guitar." And I basically almost sort of like a little bit was the guy that really had to campaign for him, and I loved him. And he joined, and it changed everything. But really, and there was no place for him, and these guys didn't even want him staying at their house. So they lived in big houses at home. I had a little apartment in Hackensack, New Jersey. And so when Andy joined the band, I said, "Listen, I want this guy so badly." They said, "Then you deal with him." So he came and he lived on my couch in my living room in Hackensack, New Jersey for a while, about 6 months. And the best part of that was I would go into my bedroom and he lived in the living room, and he would just rehearse, and he didn't think anybody was listening, and he was so relaxed. And even though he's a god and he could do whatever he wants on guitar, when he thought nobody was listening, the stuff that would come out of him, I would be floored. I would sit there in my room, I'd go away to specifically let him practice, and I would just listen to him and say, "My God, this is amazing." But yeah, he lived with me then, and then eventually we worked. He got an apartment, and then eventually, well, I just started playing guitar, and he sent me a guitar. um, so we're still in touch. He's a really good guy, and I mean, he's got his name on pedals and guitars. He's super famous. But
Yeah,
I'd like to think that I was one of the early ones that said this guy has got it.
you
That's a lot of
believe,
Danger
yeah.
history. I don't even talk about Danger so much. This is great, man. You're pulling it out of me today, but that's cool.
Yeah. I want to point out Andy played on Saturday night. He played on Boys Will Be Boys. Those are the tracks he played on. The record was almost done. Andy's been on the show. He's a great guy. He was later went on to be Olivia Newton-John's musical director.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and his progressive jazz stuff. I mean, it's insane, and he plays with all of my heroes because as a drummer, you can imagine. I got to meet Simon Phillips. Came to one of our shows. I think it was in Japan when he was back. We did a reunion, and Simon Phillips was there. I mean, to even meet some of these guys, they're my idols. But to play with these guys must have, Andy really. It made me proud. He's a good dude now. We still stay in touch behind the scenes. I take care of a lot of, if there's sick fans or if they're banged up or if they're in the hospital. That's one of, the things I do. And recently there was a fan of both of ours, and I put uh, him in touch with the fan. And sometimes guys didn't get into it for that. They got into it to get laid, and they don't really care about so much. But I really care about everybody, and it was nice to know that Andy did contact this person who is in the hospital still, and I wish them luck. But he's a good guy, and so he still does what I do, and he cares about people. And Andy, if you're watching, I love you, man, and your job is safe. I'm a horrible guitar player.
you found you found yourselves a guitar hero though, and I think a lot of bands needed that. And I don't think every band had it. Andy really had the goods. He was had an Ibanez endorsement. He was already doing clinics with some big name guys, Steve Vai level, Paul Gilbert, these type of guys. So he was Danger had the ingredients. Now, I got to ask the one question that I'm sure you've heard it before, but was there anyone who ever said, "Okay, the band's called Danger, we got a song called Naughty Naughty, now we got a song
Every
called
day.
Bang Bang." Did anyone say there's no way we should do this?
No, it just sort of happened. And you know what? It would have kind of, had we been big, it might have been cute or a thing of ours. But no, I mean, I guess, I didn't have a lot to do with the naming or the writing. Um, I don't even know how to answer it, but we did get that question a lot. um, every interview actually. I don't know. Maybe they stuttered. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what the
Mhm.
deal was.
You're
But
blaming
yeah,
the
I
kids.
mean,
They're
it
catchy.
almost
They're catchy songs.
no. The songs are catchy, but in a way, maybe it made us less, heavy or something. Like bang bang. I don't know. Maybe there was a little cartoonish element to, repeating everything. But I don't know. But live, see, we never stopped touring, and we were out with everybody. With heavy band with Alice Cooper forever, and with Kiss for, I
Yes.
mean, all over the world for a couple of tours. So the thing that was good was people got to see that we really live. We were a little heavier than the albums, and we could play and we could show off, and people could see that we actually could kick ass, and that's what put us over. It wasn't so much the albums. We never got to the ballad, which was the difference between me and my buddies in Firehouse and Warrant working every week, and me, sort of warming up for them still. If we got the ballad, would have been great, but grunge happened, and we never got to the ballad. But
Well, a
otherwise,
couple before we get
no,
too close to to grunge, the record comes out in 1989. I feel like that's a good time. I feel like you're a little ahead of some of the bands. Some of the bands later, Trickster and some of the other maybe East Coast bands come out, I think 90, 91 on some of these bands. But it's taking a minute. You are getting played on Headbangers Ball and things like that. Yeah, I've heard you say it before. Had they gone to the ballad instead of going to the next record, maybe things prolong. Every band of that era, especially the younger bands. I said bands like Rat missed the boat on not having one of those ballads. They just didn't put one out, and
okay,
many people.
okay. First of all, if they missed the boat, that was a way different boat because I mean, I'm rowing next to them in a little canoe. Still, Rat is a. They didn't need a ballad to me. Rat is. I mean, every time I see them, every song, every single song. Um, I love them actually, and I don't think they ever really needed a ballad. They were one of the first ones. I mean, really, when I was recording actually out in when I was doing the Prophet album, life changed right in the middle of the album. We thought we were cool, and I took my manager's rental car out to probably score some weed or something and get some Chinese food, which is pretty much what I do still. But
Mhm.
I remember cruising along, and all of a sudden, I heard the intro to Autograph. Turn up the radio, which was like the first play. It was on KL. What is what's out there? KLOS or something in Los Angeles at the
Yeah.
time. And I remember I was in my manager's rented car and I heard doo 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 bah, and I heard that snare drum. And all of a sudden I had to pull over and just process this. I thought I was cool. I'm in the middle of making an album and uh-oh, like what the hell is going on? And that was the very first little bit of before that, it was not much. So that and Rat were the first things, and I was in the middle of making an album that all of a sudden became uncool before it was over to me because I said I want to sound like these guys. What the hell's going on with this snare drum in Autograph? I literally had to pull over. I was almost in tears. I went home. I said, guys, we're not cool anymore. Like, what happened? We're progressive, and I'm drumming all over the place, and it was and I said, oh, but
I'll
that was
give
the
you an
early.
example though of how a ballad might have helped a band like Rat, which is already a huge band. Uh, Kiss, for example, Kiss decides we better get some youth. We're going to start dressing like these other bands that are opening for us, and we're going to put
Yeah.
out Forever, and it's going to get us on MTV with these other bands, and then
Well,
Extreme.
Beth was probably the biggest
That's
song
true.
ever, and yeah,
That's true. Much earlier,
and
but
you're right. I mean, and you are right, and the ballad was the difference. But with us, what happened was we first put out Naughty Naughty, and it was fun, but it really didn't fly. And then they released a really shitty Bang Bang video. Then it was time for the ballad, and that would have been it. But they said to us, you know what? We want to we spent so much money. Naughty Naughty we think is really big. Let's re-release Naughty Naughty, and then we'll get to the ballad. And I was crying, and this was probably one of the first disagreements with the band out of many. But I said, oh guys, I said, no, let's just do the ballad. Like, let's just do it. And they said, and the record company says you can do what you want, but if you listen to us, we'll put out Naughty Naughty, we'll let you have the ballad. If you guys put out the ballad and fail, we throw you out. And I said, go ahead, do it. And the two guys that weren't me said, no, let's just listen. And They re-released the same thing that really didn't make us big the first time, which was Naughty Naughty again, instead of the ballad. And then it was okay. It got to the countdown, #1 and things, but it wasn't a ballad. So then I said, okay, now let's release the ballad. And the record company said, no, fuck you. We want to get you back in the studio while you're hot. We know we said we were going to do that, but we're not going to do that now. So they threw us in the studio again. And while we were in there, all of a sudden I came out, everybody had goatees and flannel. I said, what the hell happened? And missed it by this much, because had we put out that ballad, like I don't want to say I was right at the time, but I was fucking right. I want to strangle my phone right here. Had we had the ballad, I would be working every week with Warrant and Firehouse on the big stages. And that's the difference.
I agree. I think it would have. I think it would have prolonged for sure, and that's why I'm saying the bands that had the ballad, they went from gold to platinum, double.
That was what Heaven with Warrant was amazing, right? I love them. They were my first tour, and Janie, I love Janie. He was great, and they had all these catchy songs that were big. But Heaven, boom, that was the one. That was the song that made the difference between us. Well, here's another one for you. Oh my God, there was a band that we were playing with that we were sort of staggering nights. They were warming up for us some nights. Every other night, it was a co-headlining tour, and we would headline one night, they would headline the other. Well, it was a little band called Extreme. And then a song came out called More Than Words. And we were no longer staggering the night. Now we were warming up. And that was the song. I mean, my God, it was one of the biggest selling ballads of all time. But if you remember, I believe it set records. You used to be able to return albums if you didn't like them, and I believe it set the record for the most returns of all time, because people heard that song More Than Words, and it sold millions, and they bought the album, and it was nothing like that song. It was completely opposite most of the album. But who cares? That they're living in probably More Than Words homes and driving More Than Words cars, and and nobody even really knows some of the coolest stuff is not More Than Words to me. I mean, Nuno is, I think, I don't want to say underrated, because he's very highly regarded, but to me, I think he's probably one of the most insanely amazing guitar players that's ever existed, and people want More Than Words. So, you're so right about the ballad.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we just showed the cover for Screw It, came out in 1991. I remember that this record CD wasn't as easy to find as the first one. You would see it in the bargain bins a little bit. It did not get the push that I know you would have liked. At the end of this record, your keyboard player Casey, he leaves. He's either fired or he leaves, right?
Yeah. So we had the first one. Yeah. And again, I wasn't the guy. I loved everybody. I wasn't really the powers that be. I mean, I got fired too, so you can bet I would have voted to keep me. But never own 30% of a business, everybody. But on Screw It, man, I wish I had the album somewhere here. I have a guitar. I have to show you something the artist did. We never knew it at the time, but I just had a guitar painted with that logo. I have to show you something really cool. Yeah. I have to show. Where's my Screw It album cover? There's a section on there. I never knew it at the time. Nobody ever knew it. But man, I wish we could take a quick break and I could get this guitar, because I'm going to show you something nobody's ever seen. I don't even think the guys would see it. But when I was having this guitar painted, my artist sent me a section of the guitar, and I looked. I said, "What are you doing to me? You can't do that." And she swore, she said, "This is exact." And I looked, and I have to find this. I can find it in 30 seconds. Talk about something really cool.
Yes.
Talk about something cool. This is a world exclusive. World exclusive. Here you go.
All right. Ted's going to go get it, and I'll talk while he's gone. Editing would be way too much work. I'm sure he'll find it. How hard could it be to find a guitar? We're talking about the record Screw It by Danger Danger. Came out in 1991, as obviously the scene was changing. And as Ted said, maybe a ballad would have prolonged them and pushed them to the next level. Trickster had the ballad too. It results in a gold album. A lot of the bands who had one of those went further. As I was saying about Rat, sure, they were popular, but when you think about Shame, 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 and Love You's Dirty Job, those kind of songs were on Detonator. Had Giving Yourself Away or a ballad come out, maybe would have made that even bigger or lasted a lot longer. Okay, I think Ted found it. So let's go back.
Yeah, I was going to have Mini Ted do it for me. All right. Now, I don't know if you can see this. This is a world exclusive, because even I did not know this. Now, this is the Screw It album cover, correct? Let's send it to that. See that? It's exactly like the album. Now, if you find your screw, I did not know this, and it's a good thing because we would have gotten in trouble for this. Now, if you look right here, let's see if we can see. Right
Mhm.
here, it looks like the monkey is sort of. I don't know if you can see this clearly, but can you see this section right here? If you see it on the album cover, the
Uh-huh.
monkey is, let's just say, pleasuring himself.
Right. Yeah.
Can you see that now? Wait, let's see if I can get this section
Oh
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I mean, do you see what's going on there? It looks
Sure,
like
yeah.
it's the girl's knee, but it's not the girl's knee. I don't know if you can see that with the pickups there, but now if you
No,
get
no,
a
we see
chance
it
to take a
now.
look, I never noticed that, but he is clearly jerking off. Okay, now back to
Yeah.
our show.
Ve-
Okay,
Very a
and nobody
very
ever knew it.
phallic thing, but also something that most people probably had never noticed. It's your album and you didn't notice it. Um,
I only noticed it when I had this guitar painted, and I thought that the
mhm.
artist was screwing with me, and I said, that's we probably could have and try explaining like I didn't know the drugs were in my pocket. I mean, it's on your album cover. How did you not know all this? So if the artist is watching, I finally caught it. What 30 years later? But good one.
Yeah,
That was a
we
good
got to
one.
ask. We got to find that artist and ask what was he thinking. Okay, so
Well,
uh,
we know what he was thinking. I guess he was making fun of us, actually. But whatever, that's okay.
so so your keyboard player Casey is fired, or he goes on to do something else. Was the idea that maybe we don't need a keyboard player? We should be a little heavier or something along those lines?
I wasn't the executioner, so I don't know. But what I suspect, this is horrible. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm still in the band or not, because if I am, after this interview, I'm probably not. But let's just say if four people own a business, equally, that's 25%. Then they he was going. You know what? He was going through a rough time in his life, and instead of good friends that should have just backed him and been with him, they decided that 33% was better than 25%. So I think it was more of a money issue and a person. I don't know. I miss Casey. I love Casey, and Casey was one of the nicest, sweetest people that you could ever work with, and talented. And honestly, I don't know a lot of what happened in my own life. It was controlled by some other people, and maybe they look back and say,
This is like therapy, Ted. This is like morning
this
therapy
is
for
now.
you.
Oh wait, oh yeah, I can't wait to get your bill for this one. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna curl up in a little ball after this interview. It'd be like Ted Poley, the aftermath. I'll be like in an embryonic position, just like just sobbing. Yeah, this is tough, man. I've known you for a long time. Like, what are you doing? Oh, you're beating me up, man. Come on, what's with the softball? Give me some softball stuff. You're my buddy, man. You hooked me
We're
up
gonna
in
get
Vegas and
we're gonna
everything.
get we're gonna get to the softball, but things have to get ugly before they can get beautiful, right?
It's not that. Listen, it's not ugly. I'm 61 years old. I wish everybody the best. I do wish for a few more gigs. I'd like to go to Japan with those guys again. But if they're watching, you're doing the right thing. I don't know if I'm in the band or not, which is great because they know how to handle me. Because I'd go fucking apeshit if I knew I wasn't in the band. So kind of being unsure puts me on my best behavior. So don't fuck
Well,
this
we're
up
gonna
for me, man. I got a lot of credit card statements to pay off, and Japan is the only place that seems to, my visa wants me very much to tour Japan. So Danger
we're
Guys,
gonna
I
dive.
love you. This is just history. This is
We're,
Jason. He's
yeah,
just making it up.
we're gonna, yeah, I like those guys. We're gonna dive deeper into the future. But first, hey, listen,
How
I
long is this
now
interview? I'm 62. I was 61 when I started this interview.
well, you don't do too many of these, so it's either this
Well,
or I try
if
to.
somebody owes me a steak on the cruise, I think we're gonna have dinner together. Me, you, and Steven.
That's
Let's
right.
go to the steakhouse.
Let me know which is the restaurant that comps us. Um, so, hey, listen,
It's on me. It's fine. I just got back from a UK tour. I'm loaded with. I didn't change half of my money. I got paper money. It's no good here. I don't know what to do with it. So
Ted, let
it's
me
on me.
ask you the questions that you don't want to talk about. I'm sure the Cockroach, 1993, I think. Uh,
Yeah.
you record the album. Those guys then decide to fire you, right?
Yes, and then I injuncted the album, and it was the most popular. That was the best thing we could have done for that album because when you tell people they can't have something, they want it more than ever. So it was about 10 years till we figured stuff out in court, and then just through the pure fact of if you've ever been through lawsuits and stuff, they just wear you down until you run out of money, and your lawyer just like curls up into a little ball. And eventually, I just gave up, and then I got sued back. I wasn't allowed to use my actual name or image anymore. They owned it. So I I settled for a lot of money so that I could still be me. So the whole thing went, when I started this thing, I thought it would end up differently. I love the fans. I mean, I'm everything I always wanted to be. I'm very thankful for everything. But for some reason, like I say, all my checks are going to the John Bon Jovi house. I don't know what happened to all my royalties. I turn on XM radio. I can't not hear me. And yet I can echo in my mailbox. There's just nothing coming in. So thank you. When you come to my shows, I
Cockroach,
appreciate it.
Cockroach record. They decide to release it with the singer they got after you. There's two versions. You could hear it with
Well,
him, and you can hear it with you, right?
yeah, they didn't really get him after me. Well, now it's sort of like, when you're like dating a girl, but she's dating somebody else and you don't know it at the time. And then after they break up with you, it's something like that. Basically, I think they knew before I did, obviously, that um, I think grunge was making things heavier. They wanted a heavier sound. I guess they were sick of me, because like I say, I would disagree on almost everything. I was right about a lot of stuff, but at the time they didn't know that. And I don't know. I'm a lot to deal with, and whatever they re-recorded the album. It's all still my vocals. All my background vocals are still on the other version, and it's pretty much sung the way I did it. But I was unaware, and it was done back then. It wasn't really when I was out of the band. It was once they had that done, I think I was out of the band. But then years later, they released both versions, and I still, fine. It's great. People can enjoy it, and it doesn't matter to me. I don't get a fucking dime, so it's fine.
And you right. Well, you did reunite though. That wasn't the end. 2004 it begins. Danger,
Oh,
danger.
yeah.
You've gotten the original lineup back together, right?
Well, first
At
gig
times.
back was, I think, yeah, it was Sweden Rock. The first gig back was like 30,000 people. And I wasn't back because they loved me again. If your milk goes sour, you put it back in the fridge, it doesn't get fresh again. We were at best, well, I mean, I liked the guys. I liked them until they fired me. But I was back in the band, and I've been back in the band longer than the original and longer than I was out of the band. I mean, if I'm still in the band, I don't know that. But as
Ted,
of the
hold
last
on.
show,
Ted,
yeah.
why did they fire you? What is the reason you got?
Oh, I really didn't get a reason. I got a one-page partnership disassociation letter sent to my lawyer just saying that I was. And there's their lawyers. They're on the see
There
Danger
they
Danger's
are.
lawyers are
Hey,
going
those
it out.
lawyers are
No,
sharp.
basically, no. You know what? I got it was just like any other business. I got a simple one-page disassociation letter sent to an attorney. Shut up. This is obviously their attorneys here. Let me just put them on.
Ted, were you a pain in the ass? Do you think there's something you might have done?
Oh, I mean, everything I might have done. But there was no event. Like I was a pain in the ass from the beginning. What happened was, I just don't know if it was commercially viable to keep me anymore because they started getting some real big publishing checks that I was entitled to some portion of. But by firing me, I guess they got to make a little extra money. I think they knew grunge was coming and it was sort of over because they put out some records after that changed the sound to heavy. But I don't know what they were thinking. I
What?
I thought I was awesome in the band, but they're doing like the same thing now with another singer. They don't call it Danger Danger. I wish them the best, and I hope they don't call it Danger Danger because maybe I'm still in Danger Danger. But like I say, they
I
know
think
me
you
very
are.
well.
Listen, Wikipedia says you're still in danger, danger, and
Yeah,
that
Wikipedia says and Wikipedia says I was born in 1964, so don't believe everything here. I was born in 1962, but no, everything on the internet is absolutely true all the time.
yes,
But
it's
no, the
true,
guys
and
know.
you
You know what?
experienced.
I speak to Bruno as friends. We're actual friends. We text each other. We laugh. I think it's all fine. I think it's just a matter of if they're going to get paid enough by a certain promoter to deal with me, and then they call me and they know I'll show up. And otherwise, we're just we're going on with our lives. But the problem
What
is,
are those guys doing? What are Bruno and Steve doing now?
I don't know. I could call him. Should we call him? I don't know if they'll pick up. Steve, I have no idea. I think he's in Florida, with doing something. Bruno is working on his thing. He's got some band. Well, he's a producer. He does a lot of work. He's a
Yeah.
good dude. He lived in Ramsey, New Jersey, where I went to high school. And they have a band called the Defiance or Defendants, whatever, something like I don't know. Let him promote it, but it's great. Rob's in there, and it's sort of like Danger Danger with the other singer, and it's cool. I like the other singer. He's a good dude. I actually did a show with him in Italy. They wanted both of us to get together and be on the same stage. So the company paid me an awful lot. And I went there and we spent a whole lot of time at the bar drinking and making fun of those guys. So he's a good dude. I don't blame him. It was a good job to step into. It's just, I showed up one day to work and somebody else was doing my job. What could I say? Um, I wish I would have got a check with that letter because that would have been nice. But otherwise, I don't really look back too much because life is good moving forward. I still I love music truly. I Those guys don't feel the need to play out as much. I would be in concert right now today if I wasn't here with you. I
Yeah.
just got back from the UK. I did 8 acoustic shows and we did 2,000 miles in like 10 days, which was grueling. But I'll play it every chance I can get. I just learned guitar this year, so I can do acoustic shows, and maybe they're over it. I mean, we're all a little bit older, and they're getting a lot of royalties, I guess. I'm thinking, unless Bon Jovi's getting those as well. But I think they're comfortable. And like I say, Bruno does a lot of work with different people. And I don't know, Steve is just Steve. He's funny, and nobody really knows what's going on with him. But I wish them the best. And, they have my number. If a promoter wants to pay us enough, I'm sure I'll hear from them.
Well,
And
Steve,
otherwise,
I hear these stories, every week. There's a few hundred interviews on this channel. I've refereed several things. Trickster came to mind. I tried to help those guys, but they have issues with their drummer. It made for an interesting interview. But I
right.
don't think that this one is so bad. Like you said,
No,
everybody
I
has
think I'm still in the
differences.
band. Like I say, I might even still be in the band. Everything might be fine. I mean, I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy, but I'll be
There's the
interested to watch
blabbermouth.
your.
There's the blabbermouth
Well,
headline, Ted. I might still be in the band.
well, I'm not sure. And you know what? I agree with the way they're treating me because they know if I was out of the band, I'd be fucking saying all sorts of really good shit that you're not getting out of me right now.
Mhm.
And they know how to control me. But, yet there's, I know there was a little thing called the pandemic. So we'll see when things come back now. But I'll be interested to see your interview with Bruno. And who knows? Maybe we'll get to the bottom of that. Say, I'll know
I
if I'm in
think
the
it would
band or not.
I think that would be great. I listen, the cruise and these M3s and these festivals, Danger Danger would be a great addition. They're running out of
Well, we've
bands.
played. We've played them all. We've played the cruise.
Yeah.
We played M3. I think I actually hold the record at M3 for playing on that main stage with the most different bands of anybody. I played that main stage with Danger Danger. I played it with Tokyo Motor Fist. I
Yeah.
played it the one year when Tammy was sick, in Faster Pussycat, and they had to get substitute singers. So I came out
Right.
and did 2 songs with them, and then I did last year with Heaven's Edge. So it was four times on the main stage with 4 different bands. But the funniest one was I loved the Faster Pussycat one because Tammy was sick. So a couple of singers got together, and we each took a couple of songs so that they could have the gig. And I didn't know the songs, so I had to go spend an hour or two just learning those songs. And when I got back to their dressing room, we were going to go on, and I told them, "Listen, man, I'm very nervous. There's 6,000 people out there. You're fans. I have to go sell your songs to these guys." And it was so great. And so what they said to me, they look at me, and the bass player, I love him so much. He says the greatest thing I've ever heard. He says, "Just go out there and do what Tammy does. He goes, give it 40%." So it was great. We laughed. I loved it, man. It was the best. So
Yeah,
I went out there.
I talked to Tammy yesterday. He's going to be on the show next week. But let's here's a little Danger Danger Faster Pussycat trivia. That's one. But do you recall Steve West playing drums for Faster Pussycat?
Of course, because their drummer sent heroin in a teddy bear the night before by FedEx. Well, I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, there's a book, and my life is 3 books, but I'll start writing it soon. Yes, what happened was, I believe their heroin was coming by mail in teddy bears, but they caught it. So when the guy went to pick up his teddy bear, they cuffed him and they took him in. So of course, when we found that, of course, I had to throw. I was really mad because I had to throw all of my fucking weed out of the bus because I thought for sure they're all coming in, to see what else is there. So
Mhm.
what happened was, yeah, they had to play that gig. Where was that? Do you remember Colorado? No, where was that?
I
I don't
thought it might have
remember.
been more Midwest. I can't remember right
Yeah,
now though.
yeah, something out there, and yeah, but so they were left without a drummer, and Steve West just said, "Hey, I'll do it," and he did it. And actually, I thought he was better with them than he
Mhm.
was. He did a
Well, he
great
wasn't
job.
on staff.
I think that was the best he ever played. But that's why he did play that gig, yeah, because of the drummer got busted, and then I think they brought out, who did they bring out after that? Somebody cool.
Yeah, they
Um,
brought out Frankie Banali.
yeah, Frankie Vanali. That's right. Oh my God, I was like, what, that. Yeah, so lemons to lemonade on that one, huh?
Crazy, right? It's funny. And I did ask Tammy where that drummer is, and the answer. I mean, I should use a cliffhanger, but the answer is nobody knows, but most believe that he's
Um,
deceased. He's
That's a
sort of
shame. I
fallen
mean,
off the earth.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, but a little bit of interesting. I think people watching, they've heard a lot of the same stories. There's a few that maybe they haven't. Teddy, obviously, you play because you love it. You said it. You go out and you play. It's not easy. It's not easy to get backing. You're out there hustling and working, and I think it's great. And people love to see you and play those songs on that cruise. You're like the cruise director. Everybody
What
has to see Ted Poley. You've made the most out of it.
God bless that cruise, and the monsters are great. Yeah, I mean, and I literally started on that thing 10 years ago in an atrium. There wasn't even a room for me. They didn't know what to make of me, and I was on there just doing some little things like in hallways and different things, and I really worked my way up. Now they call me the captain, and I love these monsters. They're everywhere I go. It's actually helped me tour all over the place because they come from everywhere, and wherever I play in any city, I always have my monsters that come there. Excuse me, and I actually wrote the theme song for the cruise, which they use, and it's great. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing like going on vacation with 4 or 5 thousand people that you love and that love you. It's just the greatest thing. And actually, that's in what is it coming? 2 weeks, I think, right?
I think we're down to
Um,
2 weeks.
and you'll be there, and I'll be there, and it's going to be great. I look forward to that more than anything. Actually, it's a little bit of a vacation and a lot of just meeting the greatest people.
I,
Um,
I saw you there in 2014, early on. I was there with the band Winger, and you really, I stopped. I went, came and watched you. They had you on a little early in the day, but I got up. I went to watch you, and you really work the crowd and give people what they want. And you're in cooking contests and painting contests and CPR class and whatever
yeah,
shuffleboard.
yeah. Yeah, no, I was cleaning the bathrooms at night, like whatever. That's what I no, I mean, it's so much fun. And what a blessing to be able to do that, that anybody knows who I am. But I took it, made the most of it, and I mean, I just it's my one of my favorite things in the world. And I am so looking forward to it. Actually, I'm excited. And that's all I could think about. Like I say, I just toured the UK and everything, and it beat the crap out of me. Actually, I'm still a little bit banged up, but yeah, 2 weeks. I guess I can throw the stuff out of my suitcase from that tour, throw shorts and things in for this time, and I can't picture you in a speedo though. Actually, no, it's an image I don't know. Maybe do you guys sell like rat? It's like Stephen Piercy speedos. It's with a rat. I would buy one of those. I would definitely wear
I
one.
have that. If you get the one with the gorilla masturbating logo that you have.
Listen, that's a new thing. That's an exclusive. Jason, look at that, man. Oh my God, nobody's ever seen that before. And oh boy, well, there it is.
The masturbating monkey. Copies on eBay have just tripled. People are going nuts to have. It's because it's going to be banned,
I mean,
canceled.
right? I mean, yeah, nothing is good until it's banned, right? It would if it would have. I'm telling you, we probably would have gotten in big trouble back then from the record company if they. And how do you say like, hey, listen, I didn't know, I didn't know the drugs were in my pocket, right? Oops.
Mhm. It would
It's
have
like
been
the
like
thing
the
is on your
poison
album
cover.
and you didn't know.
Yeah, it would have been like the poison cover where they had to cover the tongue. Maybe it would have been a good idea to cover the masturbating monkey
I don't know
if you
why they
knew.
would cover a tongue. I mean, you know what? In their own defense, a masturbating gorilla, like I might have even taken a little bit of issue with that, but at the tongue, I didn't understand why they covered that.
Yeah, I would. I'm with you, Ted. So tell me what else you have Tokyo Motor Fist as well. You released an album. I think 2000 is the last one.
Yeah, we did 2 albums actually, and that was just supposed to be like a one-off project, and we had so much fun. And then we had requests to tour, and we actually toured overseas. And I mean, it's been such a cool thing. But with Steve Brown, it's tough. He does so many different things, and that
Right.
band was made up of all guys that have a lot going on. We've sold together 120 million records, and I like to say like I've sold 2 million. It's those guys. But I mean, Greg Smith from the Ted Nugent band, and also he's in every other band in the world. He's a great bass player. Steve Brown, who's in everything from Def Leppard and Trickster. I mean, he's recording the new Ace Frehley record. He's just off the chart. And then of course Chuck Berge at the time. This was during the pandemic and before, and Billy Joel wasn't touring as much, and he's Billy Joel's drummer. And now of course Billy Joel is out, so it's really tough. We have such working schedules. Everybody's out working, but when the stars align, we still do shows. It's still an active band, and the 2 albums we did are kind of neat because a lot of newer bands don't put out an album that sounds like it might have been big at the time when we were all like a Def Leppard kind of thing. And I'm very proud of those albums. They're really cool. Steve's Steve's really good at what he does, and they're cool records, so check them out. But the
I'm
second
gonna
one
put a
was
link
called
in the
Ryan.
description. Yeah, Ted, I'm gonna put a link in the description so people can get
Yeah,
those
cool.
albums and get turned on because there's a lot of people who would like to hear more music that sounds that way. Maybe they didn't know about it or they couldn't find it, and so this is a great chance. And this is a band that you know for sure you're in, so that's good too.
Hey, and my latest solo album, which I don't have right here, is called Modern Art. People would love that. You can get it on my site, but check that out, or at least look it up on YouTube or download it for free. I don't care. Just listen to it because it's really, really. I think you'll find it's like surprisingly good. But yeah,
What's the
TMF. I've had a
website,
good
Ted?
run. Actually, sorry.
What's your website, Ted?
Well, it used to be tedpolie.com, and then somebody stole it. They stole my name. So now it's ted-poley.com. And
Okay.
that album is in stock. Don't order a lot of other stuff. My webmaster ran away with the key. I can't change anything. I do have that CD in stock. Don't order anything else from that site until I change it. But I think you'd like the CD. And I will say, I think I heard you mention it earlier. And thank you for being such a good guy. A portion of everything I do in my life I send to animal shelters. No kill. I have enough money, dude. I have enough money to last me till the end of the week. Uh-oh, it's the end of the week, isn't it? But the
Mhm.
animals need your help. And when I heard you say that, I mean, I love you anyway, but I did not know that you were into what I am into. Um, I ask everybody within earshot of this to please support your local no-kill animal shelter, and anything that you buy from me anywhere, I give as much of a percentage as I can to the animals. Used to be a bigger percentage, but now the animals owe me. I've been out of work for 3 years, so we split it. But always, and thank you for that, and everybody. I've got great fans, and thank you for supporting the animals that need your help. So
Yeah,
cool.
it's a great cause. It's great that you do it. And as I said, you play music because you love it. You love to give back. You like to see people smile. I see you. You sit after the shows and talk to people as long as they want, and that's a great thing. There's not enough people who still really care so much about what they do.
Well, when we just did the UK thing, I was through. It was Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, back to Wales. Um, I did about honestly, I mean, I could see Led Zeppelin do an acoustic show, and after an hour, I'm bored. I mean, acoustic is okay, but for me, I would do about an hour. But then everybody that came to see me, and this is every single night, I really did that tour. I don't have tour support. I paid for it, and it was a thank you to everybody for making my dream come true. So I would cut the show, and then I would come out until the last very very drunk person would leave. Every single person got their stuff signed, got photos, and I got to say thank you. So it was almost like a meet and greet tour, which is the last time I'm doing that because by the fourth show I got really sick. After about 500-600 people, you get a little bit. But we continued on, and but I love that, and truly that's why I did the whole thing. I thought it would be the last time around. If 30 people came, I'd love it. I broke records over there. It was over hundreds of people came, so I'll do it again now. I thought that was the last lap, but I'll do the last tour just like Kiss. I will keep retiring until they stop showing up. So
That's good. Yeah, as long as people
yeah,
want you, Ted, it's a good thing. And I know that Steve and Bruno are watching and are already making plans to get some offers and get Danger back. There's no Danger without you, Ted. I
thank
don't
you,
care what.
thank you. Actually, Bruno said that. That's why the new band is called the Defiance. But at least that's
Right, but that's
okay.
good.
Uh,
That's good.
no, it's all
Yeah,
right.
when
And
you
thank
guys
you.
are
And yeah,
together, yeah, it's the band.
no, and thanks. And you know what? It was magic in the. It still got that magic to it. And I wish them all the luck in the world with whatever they do. And but you know what? There are fans that I mean, I play a lot of Danger songs, obviously, plus covered, plus songs from my own things. But they sing along to those songs, and I know that they're coming out to see me. And if it was Danger, they would come out and they would love it. And so I just look at it like I'm doing shows anyway. I don't care. But I really think for the fans, someday maybe, and I wish that day would never come. Maybe we won't be around. But we're all alive, and we're all, I would think, fairly healthy enough to do this. And I think it would be a shame if we didn't go out there. And I mean, we're sort of, I learned that from this tour, we're grandfathered into certain people's lives. People were coming up to me saying like, "Hey, I made my son to one step from, hey, we were there at that period of their lives." And I think it would be really cool just to see us all in the same room at the same time again. So there's hope. I mean, we're getting along. I think we're getting along because we're not on the road together. But
Sure,
hey, if Motley
that's
Crue
all
can
right.
do it, we can do it.
Yeah, all you got to do is get a lot of background tracks, and never mind.
Nah,
It's
no
all
backing track, no back. Yeah, you know what? We did use backing tracks, but that was only because we had no keyboard player and we used them for the keys. But it only
Mhm.
makes, you know what? For me, it makes it boring. It makes every song every night you have to have a click because the vocals have to come in and the keyboards have to come in at the right time, and that's boring. You can't, you can't improvise at all. It's the same thing every night. So that becomes a job. Now I can, on purpose, I can throw off my guitar play. I can do fun. I can do whatever I want. Stop in the middle of a song, play something else. It's fun. Play something faster, play something slower. But when you play the tracks, I feel it's like a ball and chain or an anchor or something like that. But I think just get a keyboard player, instead of the tracks. But
Yeah. Well, maybe you
we'll
get the
see.
original guys back. Maybe that's the thing.
Well, we did it. We did it in a few years ago with Andy and with Casey, and we went to Japan and we did a bunch of shows, and it was great, man. It was a lot of fun. I would do that again, or I'd do anything again. I'd come there and clean your studio for the right price. I'm off next 2 days, and we'll
You're
we'll
available.
get.
Ted,
Yeah,
we've got
I'm very
Ted,
available.
we've got to rest up. We're going to be cruising to Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And you have a lot of people to meet and greet. I look forward to seeing you. I'm glad you came here today. I'm glad we talked a little bit about your career, your life, all different aspects, and I'm sure everybody appreciates it.
Thank you so much, man. Bang bang, what's that sound? I gave you my love and you shot me down. Bang bang, Jason's so cool. Being on his show was a highlight for sure. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
buddy.
Ted. I
Please
appreciate
support
it.
them. Hey,
You're
support the
the first
no-kill
one.
animal shelters. We'll be wearing our matching speedos out in the middle of the Caribbean. Make sure Piercy gets one, and we'll take a group selfie, and we'll put that one up. And
He's
thank you.
got
And
one. He was in Playgirl. He's got it. Ted, you're the first
I love
person to
this.
ever play us off. Thank you, everyone, for
Uh,
watching.
hey, thank you out there. Love you. See you around. Please support the animals and cool, man.